It's the most exciting weekend of the year. The 2005 NCAA Tournament has officially kicked off, which means we're just a few weeks away from crowning a new champion. And along with that championship banner, only one player can be named the most outstanding player of the tournament, who will go down in college basketball history books forever. With that in mind, here's an extended look back at what happened to every most outstanding player in the history of the NCAA Tournament. 1939, Jimmy Hull, Ohio State. The high-scoring Buckeye poured in 58 points across 3 games, claiming the first ever Most Outstanding Player award, despite losing to Oregon in the final. After college, he became an orthodontist, working in that field until he passed in 1991. 1940, Marv Huffman, Indiana. The 6'2" guard scored 12 points to help the Hoosiers get past Kansas and win the tourney. He had a brief career in the NBL before enrolling in Harvard's business school. Huffman died in 1983. 1941, John Kotz, Wisconsin. Kotz was the first underclassman to win the award, leading Wisconsin to a title as a sophomore. He finished his college career as the Badgers' all-time leading scorer. Like Huffman, he spent a year in the NBL before moving on to a normal life. Kotz passed away in 1999. 1942, Howie Dallmar, Stanford. Dallmar led Stanford to a title in 42 before transferring to Penn in 1944. There, he also made the All-American team. After wrapping up college ball, Dallmar played for the Philadelphia Warriors in the BAA. He was the team's third leading scorer when it won the 1947 title. Dallmar played 2 more seasons before moving into a long career as a coach at Penn and Stanford. He died in 1991. 1943, Ken Sailors, Wyoming. After winning the award in 1943, Sailors' basketball career was interrupted by wartime military service. He came back to school in 46 to make his second All-American team. Sailors spent 5 years playing BAA basketball, making the All-BAA team in 1949, and was consistently near the top of the league in assists. He retired in 51 and started a long high school coaching career. Sailors passed away in 2016. 1944, Arnie Farron, Utah. Farron dropped 22 points in the title game to help the Utes overcome Dartmouth in overtime. For that effort, he became the first freshman to win the award. The 4-time All-American was selected by the Lakers in the second round of the 1948 draft. During his 3 years in the BAA/NBA, he won 2 titles as Minneapolis' 4th option. He retired in 51 and eventually became the athletic director at Utah from 76 to 85. Farron died in 2022. 1945 and 1946, Bob Kirtland, Oklahoma State. The big 7-footer was a dominant force for the Cowboys, helping the team to back-to-back titles and establishing a rivalry with DePaul's big man, George Mikan. After finishing his outstanding college career, Kirtland decided to pass on playing pro ball. Instead, he spent several years playing AAU basketball, winning 3 league titles and making 6 AAU All-American teams. He also won gold medals in 48 and 52. Kirtland spent most of his life working for Phillips Petroleum Company, where he played AAU ball. He passed away in 2013. 1947, George Kafton, Holy Cross. Kafton averaged 21 points per game during the Crusaders' 3-game run to the title. That's even more impressive when you realize that the 6'3" Kafton was the team's starting center. The Celtics picked him in the second round of the 1941 draft. He spent 5 years in the NBA, averaging about 7.5 points after moving to small forward. Kafton passed away in 2018. 1948 and 1949, Alex Groza, Kentucky. Groza was the captain of Kentucky's famed Fabulous Five. The team won back-to-back titles with the 6'7" big guy leading the charge. He also joined Kirtland to win the 48 Olympic gold before heading to the 1949 BAA draft. The Indianapolis Jets picked him second overall, and soon after, the team became the Olympians. Groza was an instant star, winning the News Writers Rookie of the Year and making the All-NBA team behind 23.4 points a night. The next year, his scoring went down slightly, but he was still named to the All-Star and All-NBA teams. However, he was implicated in the 1949 point shaving scandal and banned from the NBA for life after admitting to fixing 3 games. Groza spent some time coaching before getting into sales in 1976. He died in 1995. 1950, Erwin Dambrot, CCNY. In addition to winning the NCAA title, Dambrot's CCNY team also won the NIT. The Knicks picked him 7th overall in the 1950 draft, but he decided to start a career in dentistry. Like Groza, he was implicated in a point shaving scandal and was permanently banned from the NBA, though he wasn't planning to play anyways. His nephew Keith coached LeBron James at St. Vincent St. Mary High School, though Dambrot himself mostly kept out of the public eye. He passed away in 2010. Now for the 1951 award. There was officially no vote for the award, so no one won it, though some have reported that Bill Spivey probably would have won the award had there been a vote, but the NCAA doesn't recognize that. 1952, Clyde Leveillette, Kansas. Leveillette was a force at Kansas, becoming the first and so far only player to lead the country in scoring and win the title in the same year. After picking up the MOP, Leveillette joined the 1952 Olympic team to win a gold medal. The Lakers picked him 9th overall in the 1952 draft. During his Hall of Fame career with the Lakers, Hawks, and Celtics, Leveillette made 4 All-Star teams and 1 All-NBA roster, and won titles in 54, 63, and 64. He averaged 17 points and 9.5 rebounds over his 11 seasons, and became known as one of the first big men who could stretch the floor. After retiring, he worked as a sheriff, owned a farm, and worked at a school for at-risk teens. Leveillette died in 2016. 1953, B.H. Bourne, Kansas. Following in the footsteps of Leveillette, Bourne established himself as a force down low. In the 53 final, he posted 26 points, 15 rebounds, and an eye-popping 13 blocks. The Fort Wayne Pistons picked him in the 3rd round of the 54 draft, but he never played in the NBA. Instead, he spent several years playing AAU ball for the tractor company he worked for. He was a 2-time AAU All-American and 2-time AAU champ. That said, his most notable achievement after college might be helping recruit Wilt Chamberlain to go play basketball in Lawrence. The former Jayhawk passed away in 2013. 1954, Tom Gola, LaSalle. Gola won the award in the first nationally televised game in the tournament's history. His team made it back to the final the next year, but lost to a team I'll talk about here shortly. The Philadelphia Warriors selected the 6'6" do-everything forward 3rd overall in the 1955 draft. He was solid as a rookie, but spent the next season serving in the military. Mr. All-Around came back and played for 9 more seasons in the NBA, making 5 All-Star teams and 1 All-NBA squad. He helped Neil Johnston, Jack George, and Paul Arizin win the 1956 title. Gola averaged 11.3 points, 8 rebounds, and 4.2 assists across his 10-year career with the Warriors and Knicks. He spent a few years coaching at his college alma mater and then got into politics. Gola was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1976. He died in 2014. 1955, Bill Russell, San Francisco. And here's the guy that bested Gola in 55. I'm not going to waste too much of your time talking about Russell. There's really not much I can tell you that you probably don't already know. After graduating, he helped the U.S. win the 1956 Olympic gold medal. Then, the St. Louis Hawks picked him 2nd overall in the 56 draft. However, he was traded to Boston for Ed Macauley and Cliff Hagan. During his 13-year run, Russ averaged 15 points, 22.5 rebounds, and 4.3 assists. He made 12 All-Star teams, 11 All-NBA teams, won 5 MVPs, led the league in rebounding 4 times, and, most importantly, won 11 titles, the most in league history. He spent a few years coaching and did some commentating after retiring. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1975. Russell passed away in 2022. 1956, Hal Lear, Temple. Lear started a run of 4 straight MOPs winning the award while playing for the losing team in the championship game. The Warriors selected him 7th overall in the 1956 draft. Unfortunately, he only played in 3 NBA games before heading to the Eastern Professional Basketball League, which would later become the CBA. Lear won that league's MVP in 1957 and was a 2-time champ with the Los Angeles Jets and Camden Bullets. He retired in '67 and moved on to a normal life. Lear died in 2016. 1957, Wilt Chamberlain, Kansas. Like Russell, I won't waste your time with this one. Wilt was a walking record book at every step of his career. After a year with the Globetrotters, he joined the Philadelphia Warriors. During his 14-year NBA career, Wilt averaged 30.1 points, 22.9 rebounds, 45.8 minutes, and 4.4 assists per game. He made the All-Star team 13 times, won the scoring title 7 times, led the league in rebounding 11 times, made the All-NBA team 10 times, won the MVP 4 times, led the league in assists once, and won 2 titles. Oh, and he famously scored 100 points in a single game. After leaving basketball, he played pro volleyball and ran marathons. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1979. Wilt passed away in 1999. 1958, Elgin Baylor, Seattle. Again, I'll keep this relatively short. After starring at Seattle, where he averaged 31.3 points and 19.5 rebounds, the Lakers picked Baylor first overall in 1958. Baylor spent his entire 14-year career with the Lakers, joining the team when it moved to Los Angeles. He made 11 All-Star teams and 10 All-NBA squads. However, he was never able to capture that elusive title, despite getting to the finals 8 times. He retired in '71 and spent several years coaching the Jazz. In '86, the Clippers hired him as its VP of Basketball Ops. Baylor won Executive of the Year in 2006. He was enshrined into the Hall of Fame in 1977. Baylor died in 2021. 1959, Jerry West, West Virginia. The Logo averaged 32 points during his 5-game run to the title, scoring 28 in a 71-70 loss to Cal in the final. After his senior season, the Lakers picked him 2nd overall in the 1960 draft. He partnered with Elgin Baylor for much of his 14-year career, averaging 27 points, 6.7 assists, and 5.8 rebounds. West is a 14-time All-Star, a 12-time All-NBA player, a 1-time scoring champ, and a 1-time assist champ. After Baylor retired in '71, West helped Wilt Chamberlain and Gail Goodrich win the '72 title. He coached the Lakers for a few years after retiring, and then took over as the team's general manager in '83. He led the team to 8 more titles during his long run with the franchise, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1980. West passed away in 2024. 1960 and 1961, Jerry Lucas, Ohio State. We finally break the streak of players winning the award, but losing in the final. Or, we break it for one season. Lucas's Buckeyes won the title in 1960, but lost to Cincinnati in '61. He also helped win an Olympic gold in 1960. After spending some time in the ABL, Lucas joined the Cincinnati Royals in the NBA. During his 11-year career, Lucas averaged 17 points and 15.6 rebounds. The computer made 7 All-Star teams and 5 All-NBA teams while playing for the Royals, Warriors, and Knicks. In 1972, he helped Walt Frazier, Dave DeBusschere, Bill Bradley, and Willis Reed win the title. After retiring, he got into writing and has published over 70 books. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1980. 1962, Paul Hogue, Cincinnati. As mentioned, Hogue's Bearcats beat Lucas's Buckeyes in '61. Cincinnati stormed back to a second straight title win in '62, once again beating Ohio State, this time in OT. Hogue picked up MOP for that win, and the Knicks picked him 2nd overall in that year's draft. He played briefly in the NBA, averaging 6.3 points and 7.1 rebounds while shuffling around the league for 2 seasons. He moved back to Cincinnati and worked for the Postal Service for several years. Hogue died in 2009. 1963, Art Heyman, Duke. Heyman dropped 29 points and 12 boards in a losing effort to La Jolla of Chicago during the semifinals. In the third-place consolation game, he added 22 points and 7 rebounds, winning the MOP award despite his Blue Devils finishing third in the tourney. The Knicks picked him first overall in the 1963 draft. He averaged 15 points a night as a rookie, making the all-rookie team. However, his legendary temper caused him to drop down the depth chart, and he left New York in 1965. He eventually joined the ABA for a few seasons, winning a league title with Pittsburgh in 1967 while averaging 20 points and 5 assists. After retiring, he lived a normal life, at one point opening a bar in Manhattan. Heyman passed away in 2012. 1964, Walt Hazzard, UCLA. Hazzard and Gail Goodrich helped kickstart the UCLA dynasty of the 60s and 70s in 1964. The 6'2" guard won the Most Outstanding Player award and then joined the '64 Olympic team to win gold. The Lakers picked him 5th overall in the 1964 draft. He spent 3 seasons in LA before joining the Supersonics in the team's first season. He dropped 24 points and 6.2 assists that year to make his only All-Star team. Hazzard spent 10 years in the NBA, averaging 12.6 points and 5 assists for his career. Soon after retiring, he started a long career coaching at various levels. Most notably, he was the head coach at UCLA from 1984 to '88. He then joined the Lakers as a longtime scout. Hazzard died in 2011. 1965, Bill Bradley, Princeton. Bradley dropped 40 points to get past future number 1 pick Jimmy Walker in Providence, but Princeton fell to Michigan in the Final Four. In the consolation game, Bradley scored a record 58 points to earn a third-place win over Wichita State and earn the MOP award. The Knicks drafted Bradley later that year, but he spent 2 years as a Rhodes Scholar, joining the team in '67. He played in New York for 10 seasons, making 1 All-Star game and averaging 12.4 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Knicks won 2 championships during his run, and Bradley was enshrined in the Hall of Fame in 1983. After retiring, Bradley got into politics. He was a U.S. Senator in New Jersey from 1979 to 1997. Bradley ran for president in 2000, losing the Democratic nomination to Al Gore. After that, Bradley moved into investment banking and corporate consulting. 1966, Jerry Chambers, Utah. Chambers is the only player in history to win the award while playing for a 4th-place team. During his 2 Final Four games, Chambers scored 70 points, dropping 38 against eventual champs Texas Western and 32 in the 3rd-place game against Duke. The Lakers selected him 7th overall in the 1966 draft. After his rookie season, he spent 2 years serving in the military. Chambers played 3 more years in the NBA, before joining the San Diego Clippers in the ABA in 1972. He averaged 12 points and 4 rebounds that year, but retired from the game after the season. He moved back to Los Angeles and worked for the city's Parks and Rec department until retiring. 1967, 1968, and 1969, Lou Alcindor, UCLA. Of course, Alcindor would later change his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and like a few other guys on this list, is one of the greatest players in the history of the game. After winning 3 straight titles with UCLA, the Bucks picked him 1st overall in the '69 draft. In Milwaukee, he won Rookie of the Year, made 6 All-Star teams, won 3 MVPs, made 5 All-NBA teams, won 1 title, and captured 1 Finals MVP. In 1975, he requested a trade and was sent to the Lakers. During his 14 years in LA, Abdul-Jabbar made 13 more All-Star teams, won 3 more MVPs, made 10 more All-NBA teams, won 5 more titles, and grabbed his 2nd Finals MVP in 1985. Until LeBron James passed him recently, he was the all-time leader in points scored. After retiring, he spent a few years coaching, most notably as an assistant with the Lakers from 2005 to 2011. He also starred in a few movies and TV shows and wrote several books. Abdul-Jabbar was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1995. 1970, Sidney Wicks, UCLA. Wicks followed in Abdul-Jabbar's steps at UCLA, winning 3 titles during his run, though he only picked up 1 Most Outstanding Player award in 1970. In '71, the Trailblazers picked him second overall after paying the Cavs $250,000 to not draft him. He won Rookie of the Year behind 24.5 points and 11.5 boards. Wicks played in Portland for 5 seasons and made 4 All-Star teams. In '76, his rights were sold to the Celtics. Unfortunately for him, the Blazers won the title the year after he left. He spent 2 years in Boston and 3 in San Diego before heading to Italy in 1980 and retiring. Wicks coached under Walt Hazzard for 4 seasons at UCLA and then entered the real estate business. 1971, Howard Porter, Villanova. Porter's case is a bit of a weird one. Villanova lost to UCLA, but the senior forward dropped 25 points and won Most Outstanding Player. However, he was later stripped of the award because he had signed a contract with the ABA's Pittsburgh Condors during the middle of his senior season. According to the NCAA, nobody won the award in 1971. As for Porter, he never actually played for the Condors. Instead, he joined the Bulls after graduating. He spent 7 years in the NBA, notably averaging double figures in the mid-70s with Detroit. His career was cut short due to injuries and addiction issues. He spent some time in prison due to the latter, but got clean in the 90s. Sadly, Porter was murdered in 2007. 1972 and 1973, Bill Walton, UCLA. Walton was the next dominant UCLA center, winning 2 titles, 2 Most Outstanding Players, and 3 National College Player of the Year awards during his day as a Bruin. Unsurprisingly, the Trailblazers picked him first overall. Big Red dealt with injuries throughout his career, though he was still an incredibly effective player during his first 4 seasons in Portland, averaging 17 points, 13.5 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 1 steal, and 2.6 blocks a night. He also made 2 All-Star teams, won a title and Finals MVP in '77, and won the league MVP in '78. After winning that MVP, Walton played in just 14 games across the next 4 seasons. He eventually signed with the Celtics for the 1986 season, winning 6th Man of the Year and his second title with Boston. He was out of the league soon after, leaving fans wondering how good he could have been without the injuries. Walton then became a prominent color commentator for the next several decades. His son Luke also became an NBA player, winning 2 titles with the Lakers as a player before becoming a longtime coach. The elder Walton was enshrined into the Hall of Fame in 1993. He passed away in 2024. 1974, David Thompson, NC State. Remember how Walton won 3 Player of the Year awards, but only 2 titles? That's because Skywalker and the NC State Wolfpack took them down in the Final Four in one of the greatest games in college basketball history before winning the title. The Hawks picked Thompson first overall in 1974, but he eventually signed with the Denver Nuggets in the ABA. He played for 9 seasons, mostly in Denver, making 5 All-Star teams and 2 All-NBA rosters. However, injuries and addiction issues saw him retire in 1984 and go to jail in 1987. Fortunately, he got clean soon after and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1996. As of 2025, he's working as a motivational speaker after working with the Hawks and Nuggets in community relations for several years. 1975, Richard Washington, UCLA. Washington was the next big star for John Wooden's Bruins after Walton left. He led the team to 3 Final Fours, but only picked up 1 title and the Most Outstanding Player during his sophomore season. In 1976, the Kansas City Kings picked him 3rd overall. He spent 6 years in the league, but never lived up to his potential, averaging 9.8 points and 6.3 rebounds. He then moved back to his home state of Oregon and got into construction. 1976, Kent Benson, Indiana. Benson's Hoosiers didn't lose a single game during the '76 season. The big guy finished the tourney with a 25-point, 9-rebound effort against Michigan to bring the championship back to Indiana. After one more season of college ball, he entered the 1977 draft. The Bucks picked him 1st overall. In his first game, he elbowed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who then punched him back, concussing the younger big. Kareem also broke his own hand and was out of action for 2 months. Unfortunately, that's probably the most notable moment of Benson's pro career. He did play for 11 seasons, but never took a big step forward, averaging 9.1 points and 5.7 rebounds. Benson then worked in life insurance and estate planning for several years. He's also been in broadcasting, most notably with Cruise International, doing car auction commentary. 1977, Butch Lee, Marquette. Lee dropped 19 points in the 77 final to lead Marquette to a come-from-behind win over North Carolina. The Atlanta Hawks picked him 10th overall in the 1978 draft, making Lee the first Puerto Rican player in the NBA. He spent 2 seasons in the league, hopping between a few teams before knee injuries ended his NBA career early. Technically, he won a title with the Lakers in 1980 after playing in 11 games for the team. He did play for a few years overseas before becoming a coach for about a decade in Puerto Rico. 1978, Jack Givens, Kentucky. Givens scored 41 points in the final to boost the Wildcats past Duke. The Hawks picked him 16th overall in the 1978 draft. He played there for 2 years, not making much of a mark, so Givens headed overseas. He played in Italy and Belgium, but his best stretch came in Japan, where he won the league MVP and scoring title in 1982. Givens then became a longtime broadcaster, notably joining the UK Sports Network as an analyst for his alma mater in 2022. 1979, Magic Johnson, Michigan State. Magic and the Spartans' win over Larry Bird and Indiana State in 1979 was a national event, becoming the most watched college basketball game ever. Michigan State came out on top, and Magic decided to jump to the NBA. The Lakers selected him first overall. You likely know his whole story, so let's go quickly. He won 5 NBA titles, 3 Finals MVPs, 3 regular season MVPs, made 12 All-Star teams and 10 All-NBA teams, led the league in assists 4 times, and did the same in steals twice. His career was cut short after announcing he had contracted HIV, but he came back for the 96 season after coaching the team unsuccessfully in 94. After retiring again, Magic has picked up even more hardware as an owner/executive for several franchises. He won 5 titles with the Lakers, 1 with the Los Angeles Sparks in the WNBA, 2 with the Dodgers in the MLB, and 1 MLS Cup with Los Angeles FC. Magic was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2002. 1980, Darrell Griffith, Louisville. Dr. Duncan Stein lived up to the hype at Louisville, dropping 23 points to beat UCLA 59-54 in the title game. He left school as its all-time leading scorer and a Wooden Award winner. The Jazz picked him 2nd overall in 1980. He spent his entire 11-year career in Utah. Things started out well, as Griffin won Rookie of the Year and delighted crowds with his aerial ability. However, he endured a foot injury in '86 that caused him to miss the entire season. When he came back, Karl Malone and John Stockton had taken over, so his scoring dipped dramatically. Griffith faced further injuries and started to lose playing time, so he retired in '91. For the last few decades, Griffith has been working for Louisville, most recently as a university ambassador as of 2025. 1981, Isaiah Thomas, Indiana. While Zeke and head coach Bob Knight initially clashed, the two grew to be friends and led the Hoosiers to another title in 1981. The sophomore decided to leave school and enter the '81 draft. The Pistons selected him 2nd overall. Zeke spent 13 years in Detroit, leading the team to back-to-back titles in '89 and '90 as part of the Bad Boy Pistons. He was Finals MVP in 1990, adding the award to his collection, which also included 12 All-Star nods, 5 All-NBA selections, and the 1985 assist leader. After retiring in '94, Zeke started coaching in 2000 with the Pacers. He's also coached the New York Knicks and the FIU Panthers with limited success. He's also done some broadcasting and worked as an executive in the NBA and WNBA. He was enshrined in the Hall of Fame in 2000. 1982, James Worthy, North Carolina. Big Game James lived up to his nickname, with 28 points in the '82 final against Patrick Ewing's Georgetown Hoyas. For that performance, he picked up the award over freshman phenom Michael Jordan. The Lakers picked him first overall in the '82 draft, and he spent his entire 12-year career in LA. Alongside Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson, Worthy proved a perfect complement for the Showtime Lakers. He won 3 NBA titles and made 7 All-Star teams. He also consistently showed up big when the lights were brightest, leading the team in scoring during several playoff runs and winning Finals MVP in 1988. After retiring, he's done some broadcast work, acted in a few TV shows, and helped the Lakers as a big man coach. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2003. 1983, Hakeem Olajuwon, Houston. The Dream was the last player to win the Most Outstanding Player award without winning the title, as the Phi Slamma Jamma Houston squad that included Clyde Drexler lost to NC State. They made it back to the final the next year, but lost to a guy we'll talk about shortly. The Rockets picked Olajuwon first overall in 1985. He played there through 2001, becoming one of the best big men in the history of the game. Dream won 2 titles in 94 and 95, winning the Finals MVP in both seasons. He's also a 12-time All-Star, 12-time All-NBA selection, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and 1-time MVP. In 2001, he spent 1 year with the Raptors before retiring. Since then, Olajuwon has run a successful real estate business and become one of the go-to coaches for NBA big men looking to improve their postgame. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008. 1984, Patrick Ewing, Georgetown. Now we get to the guy who denied Olajuwon a title in '84. Ewing's Hoyas finally reached the top of the mountain that season to give the school its first, and so far only, title. He came back for his senior season, but lost in the finals to Villanova. The Knicks picked him first overall in the '85 draft thanks to a creased envelope. Conspiracy theories aside, Ewing won Rookie of the Year before embarking on a long, mostly successful career. Ewing made 11 All-Star teams and 7 All-NBA teams, though he could never capture a title for the Knicks. In 2000, he joined the Supersonics for a year and finished his career with a season in Orlando. Ewing then spent several seasons as an assistant coach in the NBA before becoming the head coach at Georgetown in 2017. He spent 6 years with the team, making the tourney once, before being fired in 2023. Ewing was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008. 1985, Ed Pinckney, Villanova. Just like Ewing spoiled Olajuwon's chances to win the award twice, Pinckney's expansion crew Villanova squad upset the Hoyas in '85 behind Pinckney's 16 points and 6 boards. The Suns selected him 10th overall in 1985. He spent 12 years in the NBA, mostly coming off the bench to average 7 points and 5 rebounds. In 2003, he started working as an assistant at Villanova. In 2007, he joined the Timberwolves in the same position and worked around the league through 2019. 1986, Purvis Ellison, Louisville. Never nervous Purvis led Louisville to a title as a freshman, scoring 25 points and adding 11 rebounds to take down Duke. He spent 3 more years in college before the Kings picked him first overall in the 1989 draft. Unfortunately, he struggled with injuries throughout his career, leading some to change his name to Out of Service Purvis. When healthy, he was solid, even winning Most Improved Player in 1992 by averaging 20 points a night with Washington. After retiring in 2000, he coached at the youth level for several years. 1987, Keith Smart, Indiana. Smart hit a last-second game winner over Syracuse's Howard Treich to give the Hoosiers another title. In '88, the Warriors picked him in the second round of the draft. He spent 1 season in the NBA before playing overseas for nearly a decade. In '97, he started his long coaching career, which mostly includes stints in the NBA, but also saw him working as an assistant at Arkansas from 2021 to 2024. 1988, Danny Manning, Kansas. Manning took the Jayhawks to the title as a senior, beating fellow Big 8 team the Oklahoma Sooners with 31 points and 18 rebounds from the big guy. The Clippers picked him first overall in the '88 draft. While he wasn't quite as dominant in the NBA, Manning did make 2 All-Star games early in his career, while averaging more than 20 points a night. He also won 6th Man of the Year in '98 with the Suns. After retiring in 2003, Manning joined the Kansas staff as an assistant. He took the Tulsa head coach job in 2012 and left to be the head coach at Wake Forest in 2014. Unfortunately, the team didn't win much, so he returned to being an assistant. As of 2025, he's working on the Colorado staff. 1989, Glenn Rice, Michigan. During Michigan's title run in '89, Rice set the record for points scored in the modern tourney at 84, which still stands. The Heat picked him 4th overall in that year's draft. He was solid to start his career, but took things to the next level when he joined the Hornets in '95. There, he made 3 straight All-Star teams, becoming a lethal scorer. In '99, Rice joined the Lakers, helping Kobe and Shaq win the 2000 title. Rice played through 2004, bopping around to several teams before retiring. He's been enjoying his retirement in the years since, and his son Glenn Rice Jr. played in the NBA for a few seasons in the mid-2010s. 1990, Anderson Hunt, UNLV. Hunt played on a loaded UNLV squad and led the team in scoring with 29 when they beat Duke by 30 in the 1990 final. The next year, he became embroiled in a scandal that rocked the university and led to coach Jerry Tarkanian resigning in '92. Hunt went undrafted in '91 and never played in the NBA. He spent several seasons playing overseas before working at a Las Vegas casino. He's also done some work as a youth coach. 1991, Christian Laettner, Duke. Laettner is widely regarded as one of the best college players of all time. He led the Dukies to back-to-back titles in '91 and '92, winning MOP during the first run. Of course, his most famous moment was the shot, a buzzer beater to send Duke past Kentucky in '92. That year, he was the only college player on the Dream Team before the Timberwolves picked him 3rd overall. His pro career wasn't as good as he'd hoped, but Laettner still averaged 13 points and 6.7 rebounds while playing for more than a decade. The one-time All-Star retired in 2005 and has led a successful business career in the years since. 1992, Bobby Hurley, Duke. Hurley joined Laettner for most of his college exploits, winning Most Outstanding Player in '92 when the team won that second title. With Laettner gone in '93, Hurley took his game up a level to make the All-American roster before the Kings picked him 7th overall. His pro career was derailed due to a car accident during his rookie season. He still played for a few years after recovering, but was never the same player. In 2003, he started a long coaching career and is working as the head coach at Arizona State as of 2025. 1993, Donald Williams, North Carolina. Williams scored 25 points, hitting 5 of 7 3-point attempts to lead UNC over Michigan, though that game is much more famous for Chris Webber calling a timeout toward the end of the game that the Wolverines didn't have. Williams finished out his UNC career, but went undrafted in '95. He spent about a decade playing overseas before getting into coaching. As of 2019, he was coaching women's high school basketball. 1994, Corliss Williamson, Arkansas. Williamson led the Razorbacks to a 76-72 win over Duke as a sophomore. The team got back to the Final Four in '95, but lost to UCLA, which I'll talk about shortly. The Kings picked him 13th overall in the '95 draft. While never a star, Williamson won 6th Man of the Year in 2002 and an NBA championship in 2004 with the Pistons. After retiring in 2007, he became a coach. As of 2025, he's working as an assistant for the Timberwolves. 1995, Ed O'Bannon, UCLA. O'Bannon played for that previously mentioned UCLA team that took down Arkansas in '95. It's worth remembering that he'd torn his ACL and was told he might never walk again days before he first got on campus. Over a few years, he built himself into a star with the Bruins, scoring 30 points while adding 17 boards in the '95 final against the Razorbacks. That year, the Nets picked him 9th overall. A combination of homesickness and further trouble with his knees meant he was out of the league after 2 years. O'Bannon spent several years playing overseas and started working at a car dealership in 2006. In 2011, he became well known for a class action lawsuit against the NCAA that eventually led to NIL deals. As of 2020, O'Bannon was working as a probation officer. 1996, Tony Delk, Kentucky. Delk's 24 points led the Wildcats in its 76-67 win over Syracuse. The Hornets picked him 16th overall in that year's draft. He played in the NBA for 10 seasons, but never spent more than 2 years with a single franchise. Delk was a solid bench scorer, but could never take that step forward. In 2009, Delk started his coaching career as an assistant at Kentucky. After 5 years and 2 schools, he left to work as a broadcaster for the SEC network. 1997, Miles Simon, Arizona. Simon helped the Wildcats get past 3 number 1 seeds on its way to an overtime victory in the final. He had 2 30-point performances, including one in the final to win Most Outstanding Player. The Magic picked him in the second round of the '98 draft. After playing 5 games, Simon spent several seasons playing overseas and in the CBA, winning the latter league's MVP and a title in 2002. After retiring in 2005, he started a long coaching career. Most recently, he was working as an assistant for the Suns, but was fired alongside Frank Vogel in 2024. 1998, Jeff Shepard, Kentucky. Shepard played for UK when Delk and the Wildcats won a title in '96, but he won the MOP award in '98 as the team beat Utah 78-69. Shepard went undrafted in '98 and spent 1 season playing sparingly with the Hawks. He then spent a few years playing overseas before moving back to Kentucky, where he worked as a vice president of business development at a Kentucky-based sports network. His son Reed plays for the Houston Rockets as of 2025. 1999, Richard Hamilton, UConn. Rip won his title over Duke, scoring 27 in the final after dropping 24 in the Final Four. He then had a long NBA career, most notably becoming a 3-time All-Star and 1-time champ with Detroit. Rip retired in 2013 after 2 injury-plagued years with the Bulls. The guard averaged 17 points over his career, and most of them came from his ability to tirelessly run around screens and get open for mid-range jumpers. Since retiring, he's done some media work, but has mostly been enjoying his retirement. 2000, Mateen Cleaves, Michigan State. Cleaves was involved in a car accident during his recruiting visit to Michigan that eventually led to the uncovering of a major scandal around the university involving Ed Martin, Chris Webber, and many others. Cleaves instead signed with Michigan State. Alongside the rest of the Flintstones, Cleaves led the team to a 2000 title. Despite dealing with a second-half injury, Cleaves came back onto the court and led the Spartans on a 16-6 run to put the game away. The Pistons picked him 14th overall in that year's draft. He played in just 167 games across 5 seasons, dealing with persistent injury issues and retiring in 2006. Cleaves did some media work and bought a record label. As of 2021, he was working at a mortgage company alongside a former college teammate. 2001, Shane Battier, Duke. Battier was known for his lockdown defense, but his all-around game helped Duke best the Arizona Wildcats in 2001. The Grizzlies picked him 6th overall in that year's draft. While he never became an all-star, Battier embraced his role as a feisty defender who could switch to nearly any position depending on team needs. A cerebral player, Battier made 2 all-defensive teams and won 2 titles in 2012 and 2013 with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh's Miami Heat. During his final season in 2014, the team made it back to the championship series, but lost to the Spurs to keep Battier and crew from picking up a three-peat. After retiring, he did some broadcast work before rejoining the Heat as the director of basketball ops. He left his full-time position with Miami in 2021, but still works for them as a consultant as of 2025. 2002, Juan Dixon, Maryland. Dixon's Terps lost to Battier's Duke in the 2001 Final Four, but the guard got his chance at a championship the next season when Maryland took down Indiana behind Dixon's 18 points. He left the school as the all-time leading scorer and was the only player in NCAA history to accumulate 2,000 points, 300 steals, and 200 three-pointers. The Wizards picked him 17th overall in the 2002 draft. He played for 7 seasons, jumping around the league as a backup point guard. Dixon's best stretch came in 2006 with Portland, when he averaged 12.3 points a night. In 2009, he jumped overseas for a few years before getting into coaching. Dixon started as an assistant at his alma mater before becoming the head coach of the women's basketball team at the University of the District of Columbia. After 1 season, he was hired as the head coach at Coppin State, where he worked until he was fired in 2023. 2003, Carmelo Anthony, Syracuse. Melo had arguably the greatest freshman season in college basketball history. Not only did he win the Orangemen a title, but he did so with 20 points and 10 rebounds in the final against Kansas to win the Most Outstanding Player award. He also made the second-team All-American squad and won the National Freshman of the Year. The Nuggets picked Melo 3rd overall in the loaded 2003 draft. He spent 8 years in Denver and 7 with the New York Knicks, before jumping around the league for 5 years, hoping for a title. It never worked out for the smooth shooting forward, but Melo made 10 All-Star teams and 6 All-NBA squads. He also won a scoring title in 2013 and is currently 12th all-time in points scored. Oh, and we can't forget that he won 3 gold medals with Team USA. After retiring, he's done some broadcast work and regularly attends his son's high school games. Kiyan Anthony is a top prospect in the 2025 class and is currently signed to Syracuse. 2004, Emeka Okafor, UConn. Okafor's senior season was tough for the big man due to persistent back problems, but he still led the nation in blocks and anchored the defense that beat Georgia Tech in the final. In addition to his always solid defense, Okafor dropped 24 points in that game to win MOP. The Bobcats picked him 2nd overall in that year's draft. He won Rookie of the Year behind 15 points, 11 rebounds, and nearly 2 blocks a night. The big guy dealt with injuries the next 2 years, but was still a nightly double-double player with solid defensive numbers. However, his injury history and lack of ideal height led to the team trading him to New Orleans in 2009 for Tyson Chandler. Okafor's play continued to deteriorate over the next few years until he was forced to miss several full seasons with a herniated disc in his neck after 2013. Okafor tried to come back to the Hornets in 2018, but was waived after a few games. Since officially retiring in 2020, he's been out of the public eye, enjoying his retirement. 2005, Sean May, North Carolina. May's junior season saw UNC take down Illinois 75-70 to win the championship. The big guy scored 26 points on 10 of 11 shooting and gobbled up 10 rebounds. That win made him and his father Scott the 4th father-son duo to win an NCAA title, with his dad winning his with Indiana in 1976. The Bobcats picked him 13th overall in that year's draft. Unfortunately, May never played a fully healthy season in the NBA, playing in just 119 games across 5 seasons. Starting in 2010, he spent several years playing overseas before joining the North Carolina staff in 2015. He's still working with the team as of 2025 as an assistant coach. 2006, Joakim Noah, Florida. Noah won 2 titles with the Gators, but only won Most Outstanding Player during the first run. In the 2006 championship against UCLA, Noah had 16 points, 9 rebounds, and a championship game record 6 blocks. He and the 4 other starters came back for 2007, winning a second title, But another guy we'll get to shortly won the award that season. The Bulls picked Noah 9th overall in 2007. Over the next few years, he grew into one of the better defenders in the NBA, consistently getting votes for DPOY from 2011 to 2015 and winning the award in 2014. During his 9 years in Chicago, he was also a 2-time All-Star. Noah started to miss time due to injuries in 2016, which eventually led to him signing a contract with the Knicks after the season. Many thought that was a mistake by the Knicks, because Noah was coming off a major injury and was relatively old. They were proven right, as he played in just 53 games over 2 years before he was released. Noah spent a few more seasons bopping around the NBA and retired in 2021. Since then, he's done some work as an ambassador in the Philippines. 2007, Corey Brewer, Florida. Brewer was Noah's teammate at Florida and picked up his own MOP behind 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals in the 2007 final against Greg Oden's Ohio State. The Timberwolves picked Brewer 7th overall in that year's draft. He was solid as a rookie, but missed most of his second season with a torn ACL. After that, Brewer became a longtime journeyman who could get hot off the bench, finishing with votes for 6th Man of the Year several times and helping the Mavericks win a title in 2011. Brewer spent 13 years in the league, retiring in 2020. He then jumped into coaching with the Pelicans. As of 2025, he's still working with the organization as an assistant. 2008, Mario Chalmers, Kansas. Unlike their opponents, the Memphis Tigers, Mario Chalmers and teammate Sharon Collins made their free throws to give Kansas another title win. Of course, he also hit a last-second triple to send the game into OT, but either way, he won Most Outstanding Player for his heroics. The Heat picked him in the second round of the 2008 draft. Chalmers spent his first 8 years in Miami, becoming a solid starting point guard for the Heatles. Unfortunately, he did sometimes catch flack for not being as good as his superstar teammates, but Chalmers helped the team win back-to-back titles in 2012 and 2013. In 2015, he was traded to Memphis. He spent a few years with the Grizz, dealing with injuries throughout. In 2018, Chalmers jumped into overseas ball, winning the FIBA Champions League in 2019 and the Greek Cup in 2020. He last played in 2023 with a team in the Southeast Asian League. 2009, Wayne Ellington, North Carolina. The man with the golden arm hit 7 of 10 3-point attempts to help UNC beat Michigan State 89-72. He entered that year's draft, and the Timberwolves picked him 28th overall. Ellington spent most of his 13-year career as a solid bench player, scoring in double figures several times, but never taking that step towards stardom. After spending the 2022 season with the Lakers, Ellington retired. Soon after, he joined the Heat's staff as a player development coach. He's still working in that position as of 2025. 2010, Kyle Singler, Duke. During Singler's junior season, he led Duke with 19 points to beat Gordon Hayward's Butler Bulldogs in the title game and win Most Outstanding Player. Though, it's worth noting that Hayward's last-second heave was inches from turning things the other way. Singler's senior season wasn't as successful, as the Dukies were swept out of the tourney in the Sweet 16 by the Arizona Wildcats. The Pistons picked him in the second round of the 2011 draft. Instead of joining Detroit, Singler spent a few years playing in Spain, finally playing with the Pistons in 2012. He spent 6 years in the NBA, equally spent between the Pistons and Thunder. Singler was mostly a depth option during his time in the league, and he went back overseas in 2018. The 6'8" forward retired soon after and entered the business world, where he's been working ever since. 2011, Kemba Walker, UConn. While Kemba missed out on winning Player of the Year to Jimmer Fredette, he ultimately won the day when he dropped 16 points to rally UConn to a title win over Butler. The Bobcats then picked him 9th overall in that year's draft. Walker spent 8 of his 12 seasons with the team, becoming a 4-time All-Star as a high-scoring point guard. He joined the Celtics in 2020 for the fourth of those All-Star seasons. Walker then spent a few years bopping around the league and overseas until retiring in 2024 as a career 19.3 points per game player. Soon after, he joined the Hornets staff as a player enhancement coach, where he's still working as of 2025. 2012, Anthony Davis, Kentucky. AD had a dominant freshman season at UK, winning College Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year alongside his MOP award. Across the NCAA tourney, he averaged 15.2 points, 11.2 rebounds, and 4.5 blocks. The Hornets picked him first overall in 2012, and he quickly became one of the best bigs in the NBA when healthy. Despite missing significant chunks of several seasons, AD is a 2-time Olympic gold medal winner, 10-time All-Star, 3-time block champ, 5-time All-NBA player, and 1-time NBA champion. He's only 32 years old, so he likely has a few years left of solid to great production. As of 2025, he's playing for the Dallas Mavericks after a controversial trade that involved Luka Doncic. In addition to his NBA exploits, AD is a member of the FaZe Clan and has starred in several films and TV shows. When he retires, he's nearly a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame, especially if he's able to live up to Nico Harrison's expectations and win another title. 2013, Luke Hancock, Louisville. Hancock dropped 22 points in the final to become the first ever substitute to win the Most Outstanding Player award. However, that distinction was later vacated and then restored due to the proceedings of the 2015 Louisville basketball scandal. Despite Louisville not technically winning that title, Hancock is the official MOP, which is a weird one to get your head around, but that's the NCAA for you. Either way, he went undrafted in 2014 and joined the Magic and Grizz during the preseason, but was cut from both teams. Hancock played a few games in Greece before leaving the game behind and starting work as a financial advisor. As of 2019, he's also doing some work for ESPN as a broadcaster. 2014, Shabazz Napier, UConn. Napier came off the bench to help Kemba Walker and the 2011 Huskies win a title, but was the lead dog in 2014. The point guard dropped 22 points, 6 boards, and 3 assists to clinch a victory over the Kentucky Wildcats as the Huskies went on a relatively surprising run to win the title as a 7 seed. The Heat picked Napier 24th overall in the 2014 draft. He played in several games with the team before a sports hernia ruled him out of the rest of his rookie season. Napier was traded to the Magic in 2014, starting a career of jumping from team to team as a backup point guard. He played for 6 seasons in the NBA before jumping overseas in 2021. As of 2025, Napier is playing for Bayern Munich after winning back-to-back titles in Italy in 23 and 24. 2015, Tyus Jones, Duke. Jones spent just 1 season at Duke, but it was a very successful one. He scored 23 points and added 5 boards in the championship game against Wisconsin to give Duke a title. That year, the Cavs picked him 24th overall before quickly trading him to the Timberwolves. He spent 4 years in Minnesota, slowly becoming a solid backup. Jones joined the Grizzlies ahead of the 2020 season and started to get votes for 6th Man of the Year in 21 and 22 before becoming a starter in Washington. As of 2025, he's starting for the Phoenix Suns and trying to help turn the team into a contender. 2016, Ryan Arcidiacono. Arch became a top player in college basketball by his senior season at Nova. The 6'3" guard led the team to the title while averaging 12.5 points and 4.2 rebounds. While he went undrafted that season, the Spurs signed him to its Summer League roster. He didn't make the final team, but signed with the Bulls in 2017. He spent 4 years in Chicago, largely coming off the bench, before joining the Knicks. Again, he played sparingly for 3 seasons, while spending a few games with Portland, before heading back to the G League on a more permanent basis. As of 2025, Arch is playing for the Windy City Bulls. 2017, Joel Berry II, North Carolina. Barry dropped 22 points and 6 assists to win MOP in 2017, becoming the first player since Bill Walton to score 20 points in back-to-back title games, though his first effort came up short against Villanova. Barry came back for his senior season, but UNC lost in the second round of the tourney. He went undrafted in 2018 and signed with the South Bay Lakers in the G League. He spent a few years in the league before signing with Besiktas in 2020. After the 2021 season, he announced his retirement and has moved into a broadcaster and podcaster role. 2018, Dante DiVincenzo, Villanova. Devo dropped 31 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, and 2 blocks in Nova's title win over Michigan, setting the record for most points off the bench in a Final Four game. The Bucks picked him 17th overall in the 2018 draft. He spent 4 years in Milwaukee, helping the team win a championship in 2021. In 2022, he was sent to the Kings in a trade that included Serge Ibaka, and he signed with the Warriors after the season. He spent a year in Golden State before joining the Knicks in 2023. Devo had the best season of his career, averaging 15.5 points, but New York sent him to Minnesota in the deal that brought Karl Anthony Towns to NYC. During the 2025 season, Devo is averaging 12 points off the bench. He's only 28, so he likely has several years of solid production in front of him. 2019, Kyle Guy, Virginia. Guy recorded a triple-double against Purdue to help the team advance to the Final Four against Auburn. He hit 3 free throws with 0.6 seconds left on the clock to send the team to the championship game. Guy finished things off with 24 points in the Cavs' overtime win over Texas Tech. The Knicks picked him in the second round of the 2019 draft, but quickly traded him to Sacramento. He spent a few seasons with the Kings, mostly coming off the bench and playing for the team's G League affiliate. Since 2021, he's largely played in the G League and overseas, outside of a short stint with the Heat in 2022. He hung up his sneakers in 2024 and joined the Virginia staff as a special assistant coach. None thanks COVID. 2021, Jared Butler, Baylor. Butler posted 22 points and 7 assists to knock off the previously undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs and win the Most Outstanding Player award. Before the draft, he was originally declared ineligible to play or practice, but doctors cleared him a week before teams picked. The Pelicans selected him in the second round and traded him to the Jazz. Over the next few years, he jumped between G League and NBA stints with the Jazz, Thunder, Wizards, and 76ers. As of 2025, the 24-year-old guard is playing in Philly and playing the best ball of his young career. 2022, Ochai Agbaji, Kansas. After making the All-American squad, Agbaji scored 12 points in the title game to lead Kansas in a comeback win over North Carolina. The Cavs picked him 14th overall in the 2022 draft and traded him to the Jazz a few months before the season started in the Donovan Mitchell deal. He was solid during his first 2 seasons, but was traded to Toronto in 2024. As of 2025, he's still with the Raptors and is averaging career highs across the board. At 24 years old, he should continue to grow, barring injury. 2023, Adama Sanogo, UConn. Sanogo dropped 17 points and 10 boards to help UConn win another title and become the first African-born player to win Most Outstanding Player since Hakeem Olajuwon in 1983. Unfortunately for him, he went undrafted that season. Sanogo signed a deal with the Bulls and played in a few games with the team, but has mostly been playing with Chicago's G League affiliate, making the All-G League team in 2024. 2024, Tristan Newton, UConn. Newton's 20 points were enough to overcome Zach Edey and the Purdue Boilermakers to give UConn its second straight title. The Pacers picked him in the second round of that year's draft, but he was waived in January 2025. He has since signed with the Timberwolves and is playing with the team's G League affiliate as of 2025. And that wraps up the video. Please go ahead and sound off in the comments about who you think is going to win the 2025 Most Outstanding Player Award. As for me, my hope is that Montana's Money Williams can somehow make it happen. See you next time, folks.